There are things that we don't see. I think we hear about things, Dan, but behind the scenes, I think the king really is trying to help Harry because he knows the money situation is really bad. And so bringing Harry back into the fold while the king is still on the throne, King Charles, is what I think they're trying to do because that's the only option right now. Nothing is going to pan out in California. There's no other deals. Their reputation is in the toilet.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on the brink of financial collapse. King Charles allegedly trying to pull strings behind the scenes, and the press doing Olympic-level gymnastics to push a reconciliation with the royals. Oh, and let's not forget Invictus Games drama, fading friendships, and poor Kate Middleton being trolled over her hair while Harry and Meghan's empire crumbles. This is going to be a long ride. But by the end of it, you'll see exactly why the Sussexes are in deeper trouble than ever, and why their California dream might just be turning into a nightmare.
Developing today, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are facing financial ruin after a series of massive flops. Things are so bad, and remember, this is the woman who just a few months ago said she was going to become a billionaire, that they are now considering downsizing their dreams. This from Shooter Scoop. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are quietly cutting costs because life in Montecito isn't adding up anymore. Sources tell Shooter Scoop the Sussexes are facing the harsh reality that they can't live like a king and queen without a royal paycheck. The money just isn't coming in the way it used to, one insider admits. The Spotify deal is gone, Netflix has cooled, and the big cash flow they counted on hasn't materialized. They're tightening belts. Don't feel too bad. Harry still has the cushion of Diana's inheritance. The late princess left her son a fortune, which grew into roughly £10 million for Harry when he turned 30. On top of that, he has received another £7 to £8 million from the Queen Mother when he turned 40. Still, Montecito mansions and private jet travel burn through millions faster than a trust fund can replenish. They've realised they need to downsize their lifestyle if they want to make this work long term, and other power shares. Bottom line, Harry and Meghan are learning what everyone else already knows. When the income drops, the outgoings have to follow. P.Dina, I find this report fascinating. I have been well aware that these two are highly concerned about the financial calamity that is oncoming. Because remember, at this rate, they are pumping money into Meghan's business, and Harry isn't earning a thing. Of course, they have the deals previously, but there was no real money made from Lemonada, for example, the follow-up to Spotify. So they are in deep financial doo-doo because they want to live a life like the Kardashians. They want to live a life like Oprah Winfrey. They want to live a life like Ellen DeGeneres, like Gwyneth Paltrow, like Jennifer Aniston, and they simply do not have those earnings in the past that allow them to do so. They don't have big residuals that come in on a regular basis. Meghan will make a tiny amount on a regular basis from her former Suits appearances. So, P.Dina, we know that this is obviously behind a lot of what Prince Harry has done this week. You know, try and show himself to be a royal because then the commercial deals might follow again. But I actually think the cutting of the outgoings is going to have to continue and be more brutal. Because the other thing is, P.Dina, lots of their celebrity mates are no longer there to offer up the private jets. You know, Elton John and Tyler Perry ain't doing that anymore.
Let's start with the big one. Money. For years, Harry and Meghan sold themselves as a royal Kardashians, jet-setting, living in mansions, brushing shoulders with A-listers, and cashing in on their fame. Meghan even bragged a few months ago about becoming a billionaire. But reality? Very different. The Spotify deal is gone. Netflix is cutting back. Hollywood doesn't want to touch them. The easy money days are over.
No, I mean a lot of people don't want to even be seen around them. They can't even up their profile in Hollywood right now. So yeah, the money's not coming in, and Harry and Meghan are on a losing end in terms of their life in California. I can only imagine what Megan is going through right now in Montecito. I mean, with the most recent numbers, with as ever, this couple is on a losing end all the way around, and there is just no rehabilitating this disaster. I think that's exactly why we see Harry doing what he is doing. He is trying to up his profile to show he is royalty. But people aren't showing up for him. They have lost everything and they will continue to lose everything. This is not the end game for them. It's going to continue to go down because they're not going to be able to, or at least Harry anyway, try to get things going back in the UK to get his lifestyle, you know, I don't know, better in the UK where he looks more royalty. People didn't show up for him. They won't show up for him. I think Meghan is trying to figure out what she's going to do from here because what can she do from here? She doesn't have anything I think going that's going to help her make any more money. I mean, they have to downsize. They have to do something very, very drastic. And I mean, I have heard rumors about the royal family even wanting to, well, actually, not William, but the king, trying to really bring Harry back into the fold because I think there are things that we don't see. I think we hear about things, Dan, but behind the scenes, I think the king really is trying to help Harry because he knows the money situation is really bad. And so bringing Harry back into the fold while the king is still on the throne, King Charles, is what I think they're trying to do because that's the only option right now. Nothing is going to pan out in California. There's no other deals. Their reputation is in the toilet in California. I mean, really, this is what they're trying to do. Harry needs to make money and he needs to get back to what he did before. And I mean, who's paying for all of the things that he's been doing? I mean, this hotel, I know the charity's probably paying for some of this, but the charity's not really bringing in that much money, you know? And I believe that there is a game plan that we don't know about that's trying to bring Harry back into the fold. I mean, the example we have is with Queen Camilla. I mean, no one ever thought she would be in the position she's in now. So I think Harry could be doing the exact same game plan as what they had done for the Queen. And she's very well received. And she was once the most trolled and most hated woman, right? And now look at her, one of the most beloved, right, in the UK. So this is a game plan to me, what they're doing to Harry. At least the king is anyway, in a covert kind of way.
Yeah, because obviously his big concern is that he doesn't want Harry to return to the UK destitute, bankrupt, with the begging bowl out. So I guess if there's a way to help him sort of enhance his reputation in some way, where some new deals can come through, but he stays in California, that's a better situation for the king. But the problem is,
Yeah.
P. Dina, I believe they've already long passed the high watermark of their commercial success. And this is
Hmm.
why the arrogance for so many years of them thinking that they could make all of this money without putting in the work was always going to come back and bite them. And my God, it has.
Yeah, so Harry has not put in the work. He certainly is not someone I think that is used to being in a situation where you have to get yourself out of a desperate situation. So I think, yeah, he's leaning heavily on the king to get support and help. And Meghan is going to keep trying, but you see, the only problem we have is with Harry trying to really get himself back into the royal fold. Meghan is never going to be about that lifestyle. She's never going to be a part of the plan. So how does this end up working out? I cannot imagine this being something that is going to be successful for him. It just seems they're very desperate. And I'm a little confused by the things that he is doing because the only thing that makes sense is that yeah the king that those men in gray suits are helping him, you know.
Very much. But then what we're also seeing, P. Dina, is the mainstream media and allies of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in a couple of cases, which I'll come to shortly, try and continue to pile the pressure on Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to in some way change their stance on Harry and Meghan. And what I find particularly grim, and this is what I'll come to in a moment, is they are now even dragging in Archie and Lily and the royal cousins into this game. But first to the Sun.
Yes, Harry has Princess Diana's inheritance, about £10 million, and some millions more from the Queen Mother. Amid all this drama, Kate continues to shine. Even when trolls mock her hairstyle, she handled it with grace. She doesn't complain, doesn't lash out, doesn't play the victim.
And remember, I was the executive editor at The Sun for a very long time. Jane Moore is considered the voice of The Sun. She's a loose woman star, but she writes pretty much whatever the editorial line of the newspaper is. And up until this point, The Sun had been doggedly pro-William and Catherine. But even The Sun, and I'm disgusted by this, is now trying to rehabilitate Prince Harry. And they're doing it via their main columnist. Look at this. Yes, Harry is his own worst enemy, but here's why the time's right for the royal family to embrace him back into the fold. And she wrote, perhaps it's time for them to look at Harry not as an enemy, but from the perspective of someone who lost his mother and, unlike his older brother, felt marooned by a lack of purpose in a family where duty takes precedence. William is the important one and Harry is the spare. That's how he sees it, and it was supposedly confirmed to him in 2017 by his mother's confidant. That's referring to Paul Burrell and his new book. Yes, Harry can be his own worst enemy. That's the understatement of the year, Jane Moore. But one now gets a better understanding of where his anger comes from and why he's so protective of his own family. Perhaps armed with this knowledge and a watertight NDA for all parties to sign, it's time for his family to embrace him back into the fold. Now, P.Dina, I found this an extraordinary U-turn by The Sun. William and Catherine will be so disappointed by it. It's this victim narrative again, that what Harry experienced as a teenager excuses the most appalling behaviour. And what I find so surprising about this change in positioning from The Sun, which of course follows the Daily Mail too, they're still the two biggest newspapers in the United Kingdom, is that they don't seem to give a damn what the public wants, that the public have no desire for this reconciliation, but they are attempting to force it into the royal thought process and specifically, and this is what annoys me most, target Prince William and Catherine, who were, of course, the two people who were worst targeted by Harry and Meghan in all of their public pronouncements.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I'm thinking is happening. They are attacking William, I think, and trying to make him seem like he's not being reasonable. It's time to embrace Harry now. And no, it is not time to embrace Harry. They are forgetting all the things that this man has done. The fact that Meghan is not someone who is going to change her ways at all. So if you embrace Harry, you're essentially embracing Meghan and condoning all the things that she has done, things that she will continue to do. It is absurd. And this, I'm telling you, Dan, it looks so much like this is part of the plan to bring Harry back into the royal life. This is why you're now seeing on the press side, the publication side, because they want to paint that narrative that, okay, let bygones be bygones. Let Harry come back now. He's done some bad things, but hey, it's time to really come together. And absolutely, it also shows how the king and William are behind the scenes. They're not getting along at all
No.
because William does not want this. This is a clear proof to me that this is exactly what is happening.
Yes, this is a
And
coordinated campaign now being
yes,
run out of Buckingham Palace with the mainstream media, and William is being cast aside. But I mean, really, this is one of Charles's last power plays, I guess, because
yeah,
very soon we know it's already shifting, the gravity of power moves closer to the air. But I was also very shocked by the Daily Telegraph, who decided to reel in a woman who I find quite despicable, actually. She's called Kate Williams. She's a so-called historian, but she has been one of the biggest propagandists for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for a very long time. And they put this piece on the front page.
Compare that to Meghan's endless grievances, and it's clear why the public sees Kate as the ideal royal. The trolling against Kate often looks suspiciously coordinated, with many pointing fingers at the Sussex squad online. If true, it's a sad reflection of how toxic things have become. But in the long run, Kate's resilience only makes her more admired. Harry and Meghan's finances are collapsing. The mansion lifestyle doesn't match their income.
History shows that Harry's children could fix the royal rift. She wrote, Archie and Lilibet may one day play a critical role in smoothing over their father's fractured relations. And she says there is a rich tradition of friendship and support between adult royal cousins in Britain, which points to a way in which the fissure between the Waleses and the Sussexes might be bridged should the younger generation seek to establish their own bond as they grow older. All of these examples would suggest there is much to gain for the monarch and the family members concerned in enduring bonds between royal cousins. Thankfully, matters have moved on, because she's a historian, this woman, from Stephen and Matilda fighting for the throne and cousins presiding over nations at war with each other. In recent years, as much has been apparent not just from the cousins who surrounded the late Queen, but from the relationship Harry and William have enjoyed with their own cousins, particularly Zara and Peter Phillips, as well as Beatrice and Eugenie. Growing up, the brothers were often happiest in summer holidays at Balmoral, spending hours outside with Zara and Peter. There may be little chance of Archie and Lilibet holidaying with George, Charlotte and Louis at Balmoral over the summer, but it is quite possible that they will seek to strike up a relationship with their cousins as they grow older. Cousins understand the unique situation of being royal, and they can always be trusted in a world where friends sell stories. So perhaps Archie and Lilibet will forge a bond with George, Charlotte and Louis, and perhaps one day the cousins will stand together on the balcony at Buckingham Palace side by side with the future King George. I mean, this was like total fantasy and propaganda coming from Kate Williams, clearly doing the dirty work again for Harry and Meghan. But once again, P.Dina, the fundamental point here was missed. Harry and Meghan had an opportunity to give the children the right, and I believe it was their right, and this is why I think those two children could be very furious with their so-called parents in the years to come. But they had the opportunity, Harry and Meghan had the opportunity to give these two young children a chance to know their cousins. And they could have done that, P.Dina, when, for example, the late Queen Elizabeth II invited the family to spend time at Balmoral. They refused her invitation. Sure, it would have been awkward with William and Catherine, but P.Dina, there would have been opportunities when, for example, the whole family got together. If the children had been there, they could have gone off to play independently, or at least meet independently, George and Charlotte and Louis. I guess particularly Louis, given his age, is closer than the other two. But that didn't happen. And that didn't happen because of Harry and Meghan. And I believe it's too late, because the bonds that William have with Zara and Eugenie especially were formed through childhood bonds. I mean, they don't see each other much now, but of course, you never lose that bond. But that's non-existent. I mean, Charlotte, George, and Louis are strangers to Archie and Lily.
Charles may be secretly plotting to save Harry, but Meghan will resist. The media is shifting to rehabilitate Harry, but the public isn't buying it. William and Kate remain the moral high ground, and they're not keen on forgiving. Invictus is wobbling. If Harry loses it, he's finished. Archie and Lilibet could grow up resenting their parents.
Right. And the other thing is that they're growing up in America.
Yes.
They have a completely different outlook on life, even though they may be royalty, so to speak, I guess. Yeah, royalty. Their outlook is going to be completely different. And these bonds are made when kids are very young. You know, you think about when they get older and they perhaps may meet their cousins, but they're not going to have these childhood memories that are going to bind them together with stories and, you know, experiences that will bring this bond closer and make it really, tight knit. They're going to be like complete strangers to these cousins. So, yeah, these things have to happen much sooner. And Harry and has to be the blame, I think, because he's the one that has been responsible or should be the one who should be at fault mostly because he did not allow his children to have these experiences when they were younger. And I think that the kids may, have some kind of resentment towards their family, towards their parents, when they find out that they weren't allowed to have these experiences. It really is a time missed right now for Harry and Meghan. And it just goes to show you their selfish behavior. It's all about them and what they want and them being done wrong to by the press, by the royal family. And at the end of the day, it's going to be their children who are going to pay the price for all of their petty ways of thinking and their immaturity. And good for Harry and Meghan to try to make it look like you're protecting your children, but you're really not. You're hurting your children from very important social and emotional experiences that they could have with people that are like-minded, and they won't have that now. They're going to grow up as Americans, exiled from royalty, and it's going to be very awkward for them to get into the later.
P.Dina, there's also trouble for Harry when it comes to the Invictus Games. In fact, I would go as far to say that the Invictus Games are now in crisis, and this is really bad news for the man that has already lost Centre Bali and whose African Parks charity is a total mess. And I think a huge scandal just waiting to explode at some point. But this from the Daily Mail. Harry's mentor, Edward Lane Fox, has this week quit Invictus. Alison Boshoff writes he was Prince Harry's right-hand man, his private secretary for 5 years, and involved with the Invictus Games from the start. And it's said he is the only friend who might be able to help the Duke of Sussex reconcile with his family and return to the UK. Yet it can be revealed that Edward Lane Fox, a former captain in the Household Cavalry, is among those who have stepped away from Harry's charity Invictus this year. He left quietly on February the 28th, on the same day as another trustee, Patrick Nicholl, who had been on the board since 2018. Since then, another of the Duke's closest supporters, JJ Chalmers, the Royal Marine Reservist and Invictus Games gold medalist, has followed them out the door. It brings to mind the abrupt departures from the board, which preceded Harry quitting his charity Centre Bali this spring. While the Sussex office isn't commenting on the departures, an Invictus source said the trustees had simply moved on, as they had served their maximum term, and new financial figures revealed that the charity is in rude health, with £3.8 million of income in 2024, up from £2.7 million in 2023. Some £1.6 million of that comes from donations from wealthy benefactors. And yet the falling away of old friends seems significant, particularly of Lane Fox. And I would argue, P.Dina, it's actually very significant, but it's significant when you look at the wider picture of the Invictus Games. And as Angela Levin has been reporting here on Outspoken for a very long time, there is huge discontent behind the scenes at the Invictus Games about the fact that Harry, and especially Meghan, who seems to want to constantly take over the Invictus Games, is doing far, far more damage to this organisation than good. And indeed, there's even people behind the scenes at the Invictus Games who believes they would be better to have a different royal in charge. I mean, it's extraordinary, because if he also loses the Invictus Games, he's lost everything. But why are all of his allies leaving the board, given this is the time that he needs his allies to really be trying to solidify his position?
Childhood bonds with cousins were denied. Meghan's career is flatlining. Her only path forward may be through Harry's return, but she won't like it. At the end of the day, Harry and Meghan are learning the hard truth. Fame is fleeting, and you can't cash royal drama forever. Their California dream is collapsing under the weight of high expenses, low income, and burned bridges. And unless something changes drastically, we're not watching a comeback story. We're watching the slow, public unraveling of two people who thought they could outsmart the royal machine, only to discover that the monarchy always wins in the end.